Hello, hello, hello. Okay, welcome back to the Evolution with Mac and Jen podcast. It is Jen here, no Mac today. So you just get me. Yay. And I'm very excited to talk about what I'm going to talk about today. I'm just closing some things out on my computer really quick. All right. What I wanted to talk about today was well, I get a lot of messages in my inbox from clients and people on social media and stuff just asking me like questions. And I had a client who's in our membership reach out to me and asking me some questions about God. And I kind of wanted to share my journey um, to God because I feel like a lot of you might be able to relate to it. But I am really excited about it. And before I actually get started on that, I might share some background with my experience with like religion or whatever. Well, actually, I will say that in our coaching, in our groups, we use the word God a lot. We reference the Bible. We also reference like the universe, or higher being. But when Mac is coaching, he usually always says God. Like when I'm coaching, I'll usually say God. Sometimes I'll say the universe. It just kind of depends on like my mood, maybe, and who I'm talking to. I don't know. But anytime we talk about God or the universe or anything like that, like it's you can just kind of insert what you believe, you know what I mean? Or like what you call it. Because like we have people in our membership that are Hindu and Muslim. And when we talk about God, like that's not the same for them. And so, but they just kind of either like they take what they can from the conversation without really like getting too caught up in the words that are being used, if that makes sense. It's more about the message. All right. But for me, so um I did not grow up religious. My phone is going crazy. I did not grow up religious. I did not grow up going to church. We did not talk about God in my household with my family. Um, there was a point when I was a child younger where I like really wanted to go to church, and my dad did not want me to go to church because he had a belief that like they only want your money, basically. And so we never went to church. And so instead of having or going to church, he created for us the church of what's happening now. That's what he called it. And we used to sit on the back porch on Sundays and he would read me the newspaper. And that was our church. And then after he would read me the newspaper, he'd pass around a basket and he'd want me to put money in it. But at the time, I didn't really have any money. So I don't think I actually put money in it. But my dad is really funny, but it's a good memory, a good story, the church of what's happening now. And we joke about it sometimes. My mom and I joke about it, talk about it, and but that was really my experience with church, was that like we didn't go, there wasn't really any talk about it, and my belief, I guess, was they just want your money. So I didn't really know anything. Like I didn't know anything. But I wanted to know, but I didn't. As I got a little bit older, I pretty much, I still didn't really know because I wasn't around anybody that was going to church. I wasn't around anybody that was like actively believing in God or talking about God or talking about religion or talking about the universe or anything like that. Um, and this was during the time days of like my drinking days. And and so everybody I hung out with, like all we did was, party and hang out and talk about like just random stuff, but there was really no conversation about God. So God was really never a part of my world or anything at all. And so I just didn't know what I didn't know, right? And I believe that the way that my life looked reflected that. It reflected the fact that I didn't have God in my life because I was lost essentially because I was drinking all the time and didn't really wasn't really living a fulfilling, life in a good direction, I guess you could say. And and I also in my older years, like I remember there were times where my mom invited me to church with her. And I never wanted to go. In fact, I actually in my like probably late 20s went to church with my mom, felt some anxiety there and ended up leaving. Like that's what it was like. And I think it was because I wasn't wanting to partake because I knew that I was not in a space to be worthy, if that makes sense. Like I was drinking all the time, not happy with my life, lying to myself, just not anything. And so when you are in a dark place, sometimes it's hard to like put yourself in front of God because you don't want to feel the judgment. But really I was just judging myself. You know what I mean? So, I just turned away from it. I turned away from it and didn't want anything to do with it. So, fast forward now to 2015. So, this was all prior to 2015, but 2015 was really when I started my journey in personal development. Um, in 2015, I knew that I wasn't happy and I wanted to be happy. I knew that I drinking probably wasn't serving me, but I wasn't ready to quit. But 2015 was the year where I started doing personal development. I it was in August 2015 when I said yes to my first mentor, who was $500 to buy into his program. And then I can't remember how much it was monthly. I think it was around 120 bucks a month or something like that. But I've talked about him on here before. His name was Tom. A lot of you guys know. And Tom was the guy that used to come into the diner all the time that I worked at. And he always used to say to me, Jen, when you're ready to change your life, come talk to me. And I used to always turn him down, just like I kind of turned, everything away. Because I was at I was in this place where like I I needed help, but I didn't want to admit that I needed help. So I would just, I turned Tom down for many years, his offers to like help me. Um, because by admitting that I needed help meant I didn't have any control over my life. And I wanted everybody to see me as somebody who had control. And I didn't and I was failing at it. And I felt that inside, which is why I numbed every night with alcohol. But anyways, in 2015, I finally said, Tom came into the diner and he said, Jen, are you ready to change your life? And that morning, I guess something had happened. And that morning, I basically threw my hands in the air and I was like, yes, like I am ready. I don't know what you have or what, but whatever you can do, I'm ready to listen. I need help. Let's go. And that was the day I basically threw my hands up in the air and surrendered and opened myself up to change. And so Tom took me down to his office and explained to me some things, and I signed up, of course. And that was the day that truly like my life truly changed. That was the first time I really, chose me. And so I started doing like personal development stuff. I started focusing on gratitude. I started putting myself in rooms with people that had what I wanted. Tom did an in-person meeting every Tuesday night at his office, and I used to go down there and just sit in the room and show up. I just want was getting putting myself in the energy of what I wanted. and doing gratitude. I started showing up on social media a little bit more, like pushing myself out of my comfort zone and doing all the things that I knew was learning to do in order to give myself the life that I wanted. And at the time, what I wanted was I just wanted to be happy. I just wanted to be happy. And so I was doing what happy people did. Happy people showed up at these meetings. Happy people practice gratitude. Happy people posted positive shit online. Like happy people push themselves out of their comfort zone. Like happy people were doing these things. And so I started doing these things. And over time, I actually got happy. I started feeling better. I started, I was focusing a lot on self-love and doing affirmations and all different kinds of stuff, but I actually started to feel happy inside. Like I started loving myself and I started seeing myself through a different lens. And I started seeing my life through a different lens and everything started changing when I said yes to Tom that day. But on my journey to happiness, I started getting really good at letting go of things that didn't serve my happiness. So I started cutting out certain friends. I started not listening to people who would try to pull me down. And one of the things that I decided to cut was the alcohol because I noticed that the Jen that I'm becoming doesn't do, she doesn't get wasted every weekend. She doesn't drink every weekend. Like it was like I got to a point where I didn't need the alcohol anymore because it wasn't serving me, because I wasn't needing to numb as much because I was feeling so much better inside. So, in July 2018, my mother came for a visit. And oh, I don't want to start crying when I tell this story. My mother came for a visit in 2018 over 4th of July. And at this point, I was still drinking, but I was getting really close to being done. And when she came, I remember, like, just watching, she doesn't drink a lot, and, she doesn't drink hardly at all, actually, but I remember watching her with Cameron, and she was so like, they're so happy, and she's, like, so present and such a good meaning, and, just basically, I was like, looking at her and watching her and Cameron and thinking to myself, like, "I want that." Like, I want to be like that with my son. And we went to the hot springs and just the 3 of us, me, her, and Cameron, and, like, we had a really great time. And I thought to myself on July 4th, so now we're on July 4th, I thought to myself, I said, "You know what?" Like, this is what I told myself. I said, "Tonight's the last night I'm gonna drink. Tonight's the last night I'm gonna drink." And so on 4th of July, okay, was here. I drank that night. I actually didn't drink as much as I normally would have. I think because I was just done, but I drank, not as much as I normally would have. Did the whole 4th of July thing, went and watched fireworks. My mom was there, and I woke up the next morning feeling excited, right? And I remember over the next few days, well, the next night, July 5th, my husband at the time called me like he did every single night, and he on his way home from work, and he said, "Jen, what do you want to drink?" Because he'd always stop at the liquor store. And on July 5th, I said, "You know what? I think I'm actually good tonight. Like, I'm not going to have anything." And he was like, "Really?" I was like, "Yes, I'm good. I'm not going to have anything." And so he came home with his drinks, nothing for me. And that night, I put all of my focus and my attention onto my mother and onto Cameron. I was pretty much trying to do anything I could to distract myself from the fact that I wasn't drinking, but having my mom there was a really great what we call a pattern interrupt. Like she came and interrupted my pattern. And so that night I was able to just put all my focus onto her and Cameron. I went to bed that night. I didn't sleep very well. I had like night sweats. That kind of is one of the things that happens when you quit drinking. The next day, my mom was still there and same thing. I just all of my focus and attention like onto them, just distracting myself with like talking to her, being with her, hanging out with them. Like Brett calls or my ex-husband calls, "What do you want to drink?" on that night. "I think I'm good tonight. I think I'm good." "Are you sure?" "Yes, I'm good." It's like, "All right." And so he comes home and didn't bring anything for me and, all in on my mom, all in on Cameron. And went to bed, night sweats, same thing. I had night sweats for probably like 2 weeks or something. I just knew though that it would get better and I would get past that and I'd be able to sleep. So my mom stayed in town for just a few days after 4th of July. Put all my focus in on her. And then after a couple days, she left and we took her to the airport and I was really sad to see her go because like that week I needed her. Well, I mean, I was really like enjoying having her there. Like I needed her to distract me and I was really sad when she left because she was leaving. And I was like, what am I going to do? I don't have my mom here to like, you know, I later said that, you know, well, I'll tell you, my mom knew that I drank, and I'm pretty sure she knew I had a problem, but I don't think she knew that it was actually as bad as it was. But that week when she was in Colorado with me, when I was quitting, and she didn't really know, my husband at the time didn't really know what was going on. Like, this was a decision I made in my mind, didn't tell anybody. I was like, I'm done. And then I said no to him for bringing me alcohol. But she was I said this later on, I said, she was holding my hand that week without knowing that she was holding my hand. And I was sharing this story, and this is where the God part ties in. I'm doing the work, I'm feeling really great, I'm sober, I'm getting healthy, losing weight, I'm super happy, I'm, like, figuring out what I want, learning how to design life, and hanging out with happy people, and doing all these things, pushing myself out of my comfort zone. And I was yeah, coaching people, helping people, posting online, inspiring people with my story. And a lady reached out to me, and her and I were talking. And I was telling her the story of my mother being in town the week I got sober. And I was sharing the whole story and I even shared, I said the part where I said she was holding my hand that week when she didn't even realize she was holding my hand. Like that's how much I needed her that week, and I'm so grateful she was there. And the lady that I was talking to on the phone, she said, "Jen, that was God." She said, "That was God present in your life before you were present with him." And that, like, really hit me because I was like, "Wow." Like, it just felt so true. And then I start looking back on the miracles of my whole life, and what brought me to that moment with that lady, thinking to myself and starting to see that where I'm at today, where I was at when I was talking to her, I could not have gotten there alone. Like, somebody, something, God, something had a hand, has had a hand in my life for my entire life. Looking back on all the blessings, I am not powerful enough to do this on my own. And that was huge. I'm looking back at all the blessings. I feel gratitude and I just look around and I'm like, wow. Like, how blessed am I? How lucky am I? Like, there is something that has co-created with me. I say God, like God and I are in a co-creation where he's with me all the time, but then I have the free will to make my own decisions, right? And so I look back, like this was at the very beginning where like I started to really feel God's presence in my life, where I was like, I am not powerful enough to do this on my own. Something else has had to be here with a hand in this because this is incredible. Basically, this is amazing. The fact that my mother just so happened to come to Colorado the week that I needed her so badly the most when she didn't even know, and the way everything turned out, like, I couldn't do that on my own. There was something with me there too. She said that was God present in your life before you were present with him, and I was just like, "Wow, that's" and that really hit me. And when you I can even today looking just like at my whole life, I'm like, there's just no way I did all this on my own. I've been guided, but I often, for a long time I just wasn't present to the guidance. I wasn't listening, which is why I was so lost. And now that I'm becoming more present to the presence of God being with me, I'm able to hear the guidance better and clearer and see. Like I can hear when God is like, do this. And then I know when my human self is like, saying yes or no. Which is why we're in a I can see that we're in like this co-creation because he's been guiding me all along, but most of my life I wasn't present enough to listen and I wasn't here and I wasn't seeing it. But now that I've opened up and I become more present to it, I see the miracles and the blessings and I know that I didn't do this by myself. I am not this fucking powerful. You know? And so as I go on and like that happened and at this point, like I'm still not going to church. I still have never read the Bible. I didn't know anything still, nothing. And and I end up divorcing my husband at the time. So I got divorced. And because remember, I'm like going for this happiness and letting go of everything that wasn't making me happy. Well, that was one of the things that kind of had to go was letting go of that marriage so I could, move on from that. And so after him, I started dating. And I was dating a lot. And not only was I dating, but I was also healing. So I had a new coach, I hired a coach, and I was healing and dating and doing all the things and still working towards happiness and still practicing gratitude and showing up in my groups and and reading the books and listening to the YouTubes and going to the seminars and all the things, right? And um but now I'm dating. And I probably went out with 40 or 50 dates before I met Mac, and that's a whole other story. But like I said, I'm really good at letting go of what's not right in order for me to get to what is right. And that's one of the things that, like, you know, you might want to take a look at if you're not happy is like, what do you need to let go of so you can put in what's right for you, meant for you, what you want. And so I went on 40 or 50 dates and, really good at like, no, 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 no. No, 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 no. And but I say, you're a needle in the haystack. Like you are special, like you are amazing. I am amazing. I am a needle in the haystack. My man was a needle in the haystack. Your man is a needle in the haystack. And we're not going to find him, I don't think, right away, but as we go through, like, the goal is you become a powerful magnet to pull him out. So you just work on healing. That's the major thing. But one of the dates I went out with a guy, and he was really great. Not the one, but he was really great. And he said to me, "Do you go to church?" And I was like, "No, I don't." And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "I'm not really like super churchy person or anything." He's like, "But I started going to this church and the pastor is awesome. Like, you've got to go see this guy. He's not like your regular preacher pastor. He's like, this guy has tattoos and like he's great. Like, it's a great, like a really great fun church." And he kind of sold me because he's like, it's not like normal church. And I didn't wasn't too excited, about going to a normal church, but this guy, like, had me a little excited to go to this church because he's different. He's awesome. He's got tattoos, and I'm like, I can fit in there. And so I have a sticky note on my mirror that says, "Try everything once, twice if I like it, 3 times to make sure." And so my date really sold this church. And so I said, "What the hell? I'm going to go." Why? Because I was dating, having fun, going dancing every Thursday. I took myself shooting, doing all these things, putting myself outside of my comfort zone, really growing, had my coach, working on healing. Why not go to church? Like, I might as well just try it because if I don't like it, I can just stop going, right? So I go to the church, did not see this guy there. I've never actually seen this guy there. Like, it's a very large church and they actually have multiple services and online. But I went and I think the first time I went, that preacher, the one that he was talking about, actually wasn't there that week. But the message was great. It was great. So I was like, "Okay, I'll go again." And so the next weekend, I went back and the preacher was there. His name is Jim, Pastor Jim. He was there and he was great. Like, he was great. And what they do is they talk about some scripture in the Bible, and then they kind of relate it to like life, right? He's sharing scriptures in the Bible that I've never heard before. But because of the work that I've done in personal development, I was really understanding the messages that they were sharing because I'm over here living it, doing personal development. And he's talking about the Bible and sharing the messages. And basically, it's like the secrets to be happy, the secret to joy, the secrets to fulfillment. Like, that's basically what the Bible is it is like your guide to an amazing, fulfilling life. And he's sharing the stories, and I'm over here feeling it because I'm living it already, but just not through this religious God lens. And everything that he's up there saying, I'm like, "Yes." Like, "Yes!" In my head, my mind, I'm like, "Oh my god, yes, like, that's so true." And I'm looking around at everyone, I'm like, "This is good shit." Like, "This is good, it works. Like, you guys need to do this." Like, it really works. And I know that the stuff that he was sharing and the things work for happiness because I had been doing this stuff. Like, I don't even remember exactly what message he shared or even a message I can share right now. I mean, one I know is um like Jesus went and met there's a story in the Bible where he like goes and he prays for 3 days and 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 these guys are like looking for him and the whole town is looking for Jesus and Jesus is in the woods praying for 3 days. And And the guys finally find Jesus in the woods after 3 days, and they run up to Jesus and they're like, "Jesus, what are you doing? Like, the whole town needs you. What are you doing sitting in the woods praying for 3 days?" And, Jesus was there, but the moral of the story basically is like, you must protect your energy so you can give to others. And I do that with boundaries. And and I'm like, everything that I've learned in personal development, literally everything, correlates with what's being taught in the Bible. And so being able to like validate, like already have a knowing, like this stuff works, but it's like hearing it at the time I was hearing it and loving it, but seeing it through my own lens without like it being like a religious lens, because like I say the Bible is like a psychology book written in like a religious lens. But the stories and the what they teach inside of there, it's truth. It's truth, and I knew it was true. I know it's true because I'm already living it without even knowing it. And everything now so everything now that I learn in the Bible or hear in the Bible, I even if I don't know it to be true, I believe it because of all the evidence that I've seen thus far. And through my own self-love, through my own gratitude, through my own investigation, and my journey, I'm growing closer, even closer to God and to myself. And it's a journey. It's a total journey. And that's a gift, right? I say that love, like the definition of love is seeking to understand. Like, because when we're seeking to understand, we're not judging. And so I seek to understand me. I seek to understand God and I seek to understand the Bible and I seek to see evidence in my life on how he's here with me and how everything is working for me. And I look at my past and say, how has this always been working for me? How has things always been working for me? And the more that I do it, the closer I get. And I've been loving the journey. So fast forward a little bit, now I'm going to this church and I'm going pretty regularly, right? Every weekend. Loving just like getting up, getting ready and going. And um and I'm still going on dates. And then I I meet this guy on Facebook dating it was the only guy that I met on Facebook dating, and his name was Mac. And, and he was really great, and so Mac and I, we go on our first date. Most of you have heard the stories, there's podcasts, we're talking about the first date and the meeting and all this stuff, but what's really funny is that was our first date was August 27th, 2022, so it was almost 2 years ago. But anyways, I'm on this date with Mac, and Mac is like, "Do you go to church?" And I'm like, "Actually, I do. I go to this church called Flatirons, and it's amazing." And he goes, "Really? I go to Flatirons." I was like, "Really?" Like, "How have I not seen you there? You know, you're 6'6" tall, 6'6". Like, you stand out. How have I not seen you? But the thing is there's a lot of people that go to that church, and there's multiple services, and Mac typically went to the 9 AM, and I typically went to the 11 AM because I lived a little further, so it took me, like, a while to, like, get ready and then get there. Um, but we both went to the same church. Like, how crazy is that? And today, you know, Mac and I are married now. And Mac grew up Mormon. And so Mac, I mean, I feel like he knows the Bible like the back of his hand. Like he's so smart with it and good with it, and he just knows scripture, and you tell him something and he's like, I don't know about that. Or he'll be like, if there's ever a question about anything, like he knows he also knows the Bible to be true, so that's kinda like the guide, right, of, like, how we now live our life. It's like, "D is this true? Is this" let's confirm. And we'll find scripture that tells us, right? But so Matt grew up Mormon, and, so that it's very interesting, but he grew up Mormon, but then he left the Mormon church for a while, and that's why he was going to Flatirons. And today, him and I are both going to we listen to Flatiron sometimes online because truthfully, like we are traveling a lot, so we're not always in Colorado. But he's been taking me to Mormon church. And it's been very interesting, and I've really enjoyed it, but I've also been really, like there's been moments where I've been triggered because, it's when you get triggered, it's shows you where you need to grow. It's opportunities for growth and opportunities to investigate. So, like, we call it, like, I'm investigating the Mormon church right now. I'm investigating just like I'm growing in my faith, just like I'm growing in my life. And so we in our coaching, we do talk about God, we do talk about the universe. We are spiritual, and I believe when you get on this journey, off when you first start in personal development, especially if you are seeking personal development, I feel like oftentimes you're not always like in the very beginning, a lot of times I think you feel a little bit lost, you know? Um, but as you go on the journey and as you get to know yourself and kind of just like I explained, like as you get to know and see and start focusing on the blessings, you do start to realize that there's something bigger than you that's making this all happen, whether that be God or infinite intelligence or the universe, like whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter. We call it God, we call it the universe, and we do talk about it in our coaching. So one of the things that kind of sparked this idea for me to even talk about this today was I did get a message um, from one of our clients inside of our membership. And I'll just say, I love our membership because, like, it's exactly what I needed, what I want. For growth, for like my community is growing, and the people that we're attracting into it, like I just love, and I am creating a community and a business with my best friends. And it's really fun. Even if we're not best friends, we become best friends. And so, but what I love is um that you guys reach out to me with questions and extra support and all the things, because like this is what I love to do. This is the stuff I love to talk about. I'd love to coach people on all of this. So, anyways, one of our clients wrote me a message that said, and I'm just going to read it, but I'm not going to say her name. She said, "The God part threw me off." And I'm not actually sure what she's talking about, the God part. It could be something that Mac said, because, um, oh, it's actually, so we talk about the core four, and one of the things is growing in your like spiritual being. And that can be also mindset and stuff. But she said, so the God part threw her off, which I guess is something I would like to talk about at some point. Like I said, kind of a lot in a text, but it's not that I don't believe there is a higher being or energy or something. I guess it's conflicting. But anyway, the point is that I just recently, when anyone, the point is that just recently, when anyone, and then she put like in these things. Max said something in one of your stories, and my friend blank is a Christian and talks about God a lot. I start crying and have no idea why I do. So what she's saying is like she's conflicted on, a belief, calling it God or energy. She's conflicted on what that looks like, but she gets feel something inside of her when it's talked about. And 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 she says, I have no idea why. And I was the same way, where it's like, I mean, even today when I go to Mormon church and they're talking about things, like sometimes the things really hit me and I'm like, choke up and I get teary-eyed, and I don't know why either, but it's all because we're learning and growing, and I think that it is an investigation. But what I love about her message to me was that I know what it's like, especially in the beginning, to not deny there being something, but just not know. You don't know what you don't know. But as trust the process, you hear that a lot, trust the process, you start to see. You see things differently, and you start to become more open to the possibilities that there's actually something guiding you, and there's something here, and there is a plan, and it's bigger than you. And when you can, like, accept that and learn to appreciate it, then you start to, like, let go of the need to control it. And that's kind of where I'm at these days. It's where, like, that's why I am so free, because I don't really I know that I don't have any control over anything, although I feel as if I have more control now than I ever have before. So it's so weird. But that's my story, and I think that's what I'm gonna stick to with today, and I'm gonna end it pretty quickly. But so I appreciate the message. Thank you, because it really got me thinking about my own journey to God, and it's been a really great one. And so I'm feel blessed to be able to share it. And that's it. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day, and we will see you next week. If you have any questions or want to know more about what our membership looks like, where you can, be in our group with us, and learning and growing, that would be, you can message me and I'm happy to share. I would love to see you, and I just appreciate you all for listening and being part of my journey. I love you, and I will talk to you later. Bye.